Hey, aloha everyone. Michelle Melendez with Blossom Inner Wellness and StandTogetherHawaii.com. I'm the author of Great Maui Land Grab, What Caused the Maui Fire and Is Your Home Next? I don't know how much of that book you saw. I have this is a background from my friend's area where she lives on the big island of Hawaii. Today, I'm super excited. I'm interviewing Jason from Americans in Action. And I just have to tell you guys, you've got to check out, it's Americans in Action. Is it .com or .org, Jason?
It's .info.
.info. Americansinaction.info. If you want to get out of the system that has enslaved us all and really understand what that is, these are the guys to go to. I've been studying this for a really long time, and I've taken one of their courses so far, and I've learned so much more. So Americansinaction.info is who you want to go to. And Jason, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. It's always a pleasure to be on your show, and aloha to everybody.
So I want to let everybody know that the last video we did put a strike on my channel because we talked about, I'm not going to tell you what we talked about, but it put a strike on my channel, put me in YouTube jail for a week, and now I'm on probation, YouTube probation for 3 months. So you guys, I'm just going to do the first part of this. We're not going to talk about Americans in Action. We're going to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, which is understanding what the heck is going on and also understanding more about the Jewish religion, because when anybody criticizes the Jews, they're anti-Semitic. I'm just saying it wrong. And when you look at who's in control, you have to ask yourself, who can I not criticize? And you have to also understand, everybody, that 80% of our Congress has dual citizenship with Israel. That's not by accident. And now I'm seeing all of these Israel commercials coming up through my YouTube feed. And I'm like, what is going on? So I wanted to talk to Jason today about his journey in becoming and not becoming a rabbi. And also, I'm going to just put part of this on YouTube and the rest of it's going to go on my Rumble channel because I don't know how much YouTube is going to censor. But you can go to my Rumble channel, which is Blossom Inner Wellness, and take a look at the whole video, including the video that was taken down off of YouTube is on my Rumble channel, Blossom Inner Wellness. Go over to Rumble and join that channel. So Jason, I want to start with your journey. You were going to become a rabbi, and then you changed your mind. What happened?
Well, first of all, I'll say this, all pun intended, Mazel Tov, for what that means is in Hebrew, that means when there's a celebration or when there's a major event or a crossing that happens with somebody or good fortune comes to them. In English, you would loosely translate Mazel Tov to congratulations or well done or way to go, things like that. But in actual fact, what it really translates to is Mazel is like the stars. And Tov in Hebrew means good. So if you translate it, it means good stars, meaning your stars were aligned for you divinely to have this amazing event, whatever that event may be, where somebody says Mazel Tov. Now I'm saying Mazel Tov to you because if you got a strike on YouTube or whatever, Mazel Tov, because that means you're right over the target.
Yeah.
So you're aligned to truth.
Mhm.
And in as much as that you're aligned to truth, why would anybody want to censor you unless they're not in alignment to the truth and whatever you're bringing out is a potential threat to whatever their agenda is? Because if what you were saying is false, well, then bring forth the claims that will disprove that which what you were saying, and we have an open conversation, just like we do theoretically, you're supposed to do in the law. Just bring forth the truth. If you've got nothing to hide, then what's the problem?
Mhm.
So, Mazel Tov.
Mhm.
Um, the other thing I'll say, so you asked me about my journey for a rabbi. Let me just preface this.
And before you start, I do want to tell everybody, I have Jewish friends. This is not anything about the Jewish race. I really feel there is like just a certain number of people that are, and we're going to talk about this as well because I'm just gonna I don't want to say too much, but I just want to let you guys know this is not anything bad about the Jewish race, because I love my Jewish friends. They're my friends. I don't think about them being Jews. I think about them being my friend. So that's what I wanted to say to before you started off. But it is very, very important to understand why, what the heck is going on with our Congress having 80% dual citizenship with Israel? What's going on with Jews? I'll show you some pictures of these people that are supposedly Jews. I don't know if they are, with so many world leaders. Like, what the heck who are they and what's going on with that? So I just wanted to
Well,
say that to start off, but please go
well,
ahead.
you have to first realize that just because somebody has dual citizenship in a country doesn't mean that they're Jewish.
True. True.
And you also have to realize what Judaism is and what Jews are. When I lived in Israel, studying to be, and what this is what I was going to say, in Judaism, first of all, Judaism is a religion. It's a religion. A race, not that some people say they're races or nationalities or whatever. A nation, you can maybe say it's closer to a Jewish nation, just like a Christian nation or the United Nations or the whatever. Because if you look up legally and lawfully what a nation is, it's basically loosely translated a group of people who have similar beliefs, similar rules, codes, and laws indigenously to a certain origin, so on and so forth. So there's very specific definitions. You always have to, especially like in the law, um, you always have to define every single word, let alone the context of how those words are used. Because as we all know, just speaking the English language, there are words like driver that have multiple meanings, including but not limited to somebody who manages a vehicle for commercial purposes, or somebody who's on the golf course using a tool to hit a ball. So
And many other.
unless you define or if somebody's a construction worker, they're using a driver to bring a screw into drywall. So you have to define your terms very specifically and put it into the context. Otherwise, language and the reality of what we're speaking gets construed, which is how the law and attorneys, which is defined one who turn to misrepresent or mislead or construe. They even say it in their own languages when you receive documents from them. This can be construed this way or that way
That's right.
to create a reality. And reality, in some of our studies that we learn, is defined based upon agreement. Agreement. So if you and I both agree that that sunset is beautiful in your picture behind you, then guess what? That sunset's beautiful. But what if somebody who had a traumatic experience on a beach underneath that sunset, it's not going to be a beautiful sunset for them because they'll be stimulated for something else. What if they were, in whatever situation and they like a war situation and they came on to the beach
Yeah.
during the sunset, it's an entirely different scenario because everything can be relative, right? So back to Judaism, we have to define what Judaism is. A race, and you have to look at what a race is it people competing to a finish line, or is a race a group of people that have similar skin color? Because Jews look like me, can look like
Hmm.
you, can
Hmm.
look like a guy with a beard, can look like an Ethiopian person, can look like a man, a woman, could look Asian. Why? Because anybody who practices the religion of Judaism or Jewish religion doesn't necessarily look like somebody. They're just choosing. Sammy Davis Jr., God bless his soul, was a Jewish convert.
Hmm. And then
Is looking
then they can convert. So yeah.
and nobody would think that he was Semitic. So let's talk about anti-Semitic for a moment. Well, you have to look up the word Semitic because anti
Hmm.
is against Semitism. Well, what's Semitism? Or Semite? Is it a grain in the sand? Is it material? Why are they called certain things, material things, a Semite? Is it because they are indigenous to a region that has certain types of things in the land? A Semite is somebody from a location on the planet called the Middle East. Anybody who's from the Middle East is Semitic. So when we talk about anti-Semitism, everybody has to realize that there's an agenda with every single narrative that you see out there, and there's a misconstruing of language. And so, like we say in Americans in Action, and I'm saying to all of you now, everything I share with you is for your education and entertainment purposes only, and you must do your own due diligence. Don't take my word for it. I'm just some dude on a show here.
Yeah.
But you must do your own due diligence, think critically, think logically, think outside the box, and don't believe everything you see on television or read in the newspaper or watch on social media or any of these social media platforms, including this one.
Yeah.
Because when it comes down to you being created in the image of your creator, as it states in Genesis, you're a sentient being, meaning you're a microcosm of the creator, which means you're a mini God, which means you're creating your own reality,
Mhm.
which means you are sovereign, which means you self determine, which has been recognized by the UN and the law that you can create your own reality, your self determination. And even in mainstream, it's called the law of attraction and so many other things. So, my point in saying that is that you're creating your reality. So, you better know what it is that you're speaking and writing and hearing so that you can have discernment and decipher between the words and the language so that you can create the reality in which you choose to agree. Having said all that, what's a Jew?
And this, and you got to do the Semite,
And what's a
anti-Semitic,
Semite?
Semitic.
And what's a Zionist?
Oh yeah, we're gonna go there too. That's probably gonna be on the Rumble channel more. But
So,
yeah.
just because somebody has a passport or dual citizenship. How many people on the planet have dual citizenships
Mhm.
from multiple countries, whether it's America and Europe, and more specifically in Europe? What if it's Italy? What if it's London
Yes, and
and
there's
America?
something up with Israel. There's something up there.
Well,
And we know that. We
well,
know
we'll
that.
we'll get there.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. But we're building a foundation here so that people, hopefully your audience, will hear what we're speaking about and going, wait a minute, not everything that is being presented is what it appears to be. Just because somebody's got a beard and a black hat and says, I have a citizenship of Israel, does that make him Jewish?
No, absolutely not. And there's also, that's what I come as well as the fake Jews, because I know
There's
that
people.
Rothschild that's not his real last name. His real last name is
Mhm.
Mayer, which is German, not Jewish. So there's a lot of that
So,
too.
and just because somebody's German doesn't mean he can't be a Jew either.
True that,
Again,
but I
again,
really feel that
it
that he's
goes back to, again, it goes back to what is a Jew?
not. Mhm.
Can a Christian be German?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Hmm.
Can an can
Yeah.
a can a uh, um, somebody from India be Buddhist as
Well,
opposed to
yes,
Hindu?
that's not my point. That's not my point. It's these particular foreign elite bankers that have controlled the world, that have an agenda, that, in my opinion, and I we can that they're part of this Khazarian mafia that came through this line and is doing some really horrible things to
That's a totally different. Yes, I hear you, and that's a totally
yeah,
different topic than the
yeah.
question is what is a Jew
Well, some and then
and
anti-Semitic.
and anti-Semitic.
Hmm.
So now we also have to expand here when we talk about Israel. Okay. Um, and you can break down the word Yisrael in
That's right.
Hebrew and then break
Which
it all
is,
down,
yeah,
right?
and Isis, Ra, Sun, El, Elohim. So it's,
God.
yeah,
And so
God's
there's
sun
all sorts
gods.
of different things
We,
happening within, see, in Hebrew language, every every letter is a word. Every letter is a word. In English, that's not the case. The letter B is not a word,
mm,
but bet in Hebrew is actually symbolic because it comes from hieroglyphics. Bet is actually like a house. It's called bayit. In Hebrew, we say shalom bayis or bayit, meaning peace in the house. Okay. So when you take letters from the Hebrew alphabet, and you know that each letter is in actual fact its own word, its own symbol, and in actual fact, it's frequency.
Mm.
It's a vibrational frequency. And the founder of Americans Action, Christo Hart, who has had the experience of looking at Hebrew and Sanskrit, says that these languages are actually light languages.
Mm.
They're light languages. Okay. And it's true because they're frequencies, just like
Yeah.
the Om symbol, which is Hindu, Sanskrit, is you look at the symbol Om, it's actually like a mantra, just like
Yeah.
in every Hebrew letter is an actual mantra. So then when you put the letters together to form words, you're basically taking mini words to form bigger words. So when you take words like Elohim or Yisrael or any Hebrew word, uh, and you even go back to Aramaic, what you're doing is you're going back to sound frequency. And the Old Testament, the Torah, says God created,
Mhm.
spoke,
Mhm.
spoke, which is sound, made existence come into being through sound,
Yeah.
vibration, frequency. So, what does that have to do with Israel? So, again, for your education and entertainment purposes only, maybe Israel is a vortex of energy on the planet that has certain interdimensional access to certain different time, spaces, dimensions, possibly extraterrestrial things happening there as an apex of the planet called Earth that is a heart center or epicenter of things. Again, do your own due diligence. It's just something I'm putting out there. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, and I always tell people this world is not what you think it is. This world is not what we think it is. We
But
have our we
it's all disclosed.
Mhm.
You just have to
Disclosed, yeah.
you have to decodify it.
Mhm.
And if you think just like maybe what I just mentioned is a possibility about Israel being something that it's not, well, maybe that would be why powerhouses on the planet, such as America, would have an invested interest in a certain vortex of energy on the planet, including but not limited to Israel, Greenland, Antarctica,
Mhm.
other places where the UN have things posted up.
Mhm.
Again, I don't know anything. I'm just sharing certain things to stimulate critical thinking, to
Critical thinking
answer
is the key here.
to answer certain questions,
Mhm.
potentially. So, having said all that, we haven't defined what a Jew is. Now, a Jew is one who practices the religion of Judaism. And
I have to tell
anybody,
you, I've been told I follow Jordan Maxwell, and he
mhm,
said Judaism came is a came together from seven different religions, one being sun worship, star worship, moon worship, volcano worship, and Satan, not Satan, sorry, Saturnalia. And I don't know the other two, but and you're nodding your
which,
head, so.
which is great because I love Jordan Maxwell, and I'm not saying he's inaccurate. I'm saying that yes, Saturn is Saturday, which is the Shabbos,
Mhm.
right? And the moon and all these other things, yes, they're all part of energy frequencies that you learn in the mysticism of Judaism. But if even if Judaism was pieced together through all these different religions, it's still a religion that's created by other certain things now under the umbrella called Judaism. So a Jew is one who practices those religions or
Yeah.
those all encompassing pieces of those other religions that created a Judaic
Yes.
foundation, right?
That's
So I'm
correct.
not in any contradiction with him. I love Jordan Maxwell. Um, But what we're trying to isolate is that there are certain things in any religion that have certain characteristics or elements that if one chooses to be part of that religion, wherever they are on the planet, they're participating in those particular either um, what would you call it? For lack of a better term, ritual or spiritual activities or beliefs that are encompassed in that religion. For example, even Christianity, whether you know what Christianity is or not, there are certain things that everybody who's a Christian agrees, even if there's different denominations of Christianity, there are certain fundamental things that they all share in common.
Yeah,
Therefore, they're in the
rituals and
box of Christianity. Same thing with
sure.
Buddhism, same thing with Hinduism. Now, with Judaism, Judaism, one of the main elements, and there are several of them, but I'll give you a couple. One of the main elements of one who chooses to be a Jew or was born as a Jew or whatever is it's a monotheistic religion, meaning there's only one God. However, the Torah doesn't say that.
Yeah, and I was just
The
thinking that too,
language.
because if they came from and they're brought in these different religions, seven different religions, they're all that sun god, moon god, stars, Saturn, and volcano god. Like that's not, so
That's
anyway,
not monotheistic.
monotheism.
However,
Yeah.
it's also, if you go back to Egyptian principles, where Judaism comes from as well, you
Mhm.
start learning about Egyptian principles, and there were multiple gods. But here's how you can look at it. In a monotheistic, this is kind of like the out for the deity, the belief in multiple deities. There's a sun god, a moon god, there's a deity for everything, right? Because if you look at it as a big infrastructure, if you will, everybody has to wear their hat to make the sun rise, to have the water move, to have the wind blow.
Yeah.
So you can call those gods are responsible, like the wind god or the sun god or the water goddess. And then if you just look at all of the movies that come out about what was the water the trident what's his
Oh,
what
Poseidon.
Poseidon, thank you, or any of the Egyptian and Greek mythologies, or Zeus or Ra being the sun god, all these things. It's all in the Hebrew text. But where all these gods come from? Source energy, the one
Mhm.
supreme God, kind of like your body. Your body has all these different elements to it. You've got your hands, you've got your fingers, you've got your fingernails, you've got, all your different appendages and then your
Yeah.
organs, and
Okay.
then there's a consciousness that runs all of it.
Yeah.
But the finger has its purpose, the thumb has its purpose. It doesn't do the same thing that your ears do. So you could say the God of your fingers is different than the God of your hearing, but it's all in one beingness. Another way of looking at is the rainbow. The rainbow has seven different colors, which is synonymous to the seven different chakra systems, the minimum seven different chakra systems, or the seven dimensions, or whatever. But where do the colors come from? Where you find the coloring come from? If you hold up a
Prism.
prism
Prism. Yeah.
and you hold the prism to the light, what happens is the light goes through the prism, there's a refraction of said light, and now you've got seven different colors. Is it one color or is it seven different colors? Is it one God or is it multiple gods? So it's not necessarily a contradiction.
Well,
It's how
also
you,
these colors are different frequencies. They're all,
right,
yeah, so it's all different frequencies.
right. And
Interesting.
so it's not necessarily a contradiction to say there's only one God. But
Mm,
but God is expressing thyself in multiple ways, just like you and I do. Here
mhm,
I'm doing a wonderful podcast with you, but do I wear a shirt and tie every single day of my life when I'm working out in my garden? Am I doing other things? No. Does that mean I'm not the same dude, or does that mean I'm expressing myself differently in that moment?
mhm.
So when you start looking at it in those different ways with those different perceptions, you start to realize, well, yeah, there is one God that gets to express itself however God wishes to express itself. And we happen to be expressions of that same God. A lie on the planet, and Christo, founder of Americans Action, talk about this all the time, is the illusion that we are separate.
Mhm.
Just like it's an illusion that the rainbow is 7 different colors, but yet it's just a refraction of the light. So, what is Shabbos really? The Shabbos candles. It's one light, symbolic, that lights another candle. Just like in Genesis, genes are Genesis, and they divide to create more genes. Just like the Torah tells you. In the beginning, God made male and female. Well, what do you have in each of our bodies? We have male and female genes, X and Y
Mhm.
chromosomes. When the zygote comes together, it divides, cell division, and it becomes either a man or a woman, however you
I
want
want,
to look at
I
it.
would love to go back to the to the Jews.
I will. I'm getting
Okay,
this is all
sorry.
Judaic principles, by the
Okay,
way.
go ahead.
This is all Judaic
It's all
principles.
coming back together.
Right.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So you have your man and your woman, everything like that, but it comes from the same source.
Yeah.
This is right there in the Old Testament, chapter 1, Genesis, Bereshit. So what is Judaism really? What is Christianity really? What is Hinduism really? What if each of them are just different expressions of the one? And the illusion is that they're different.
Okay, I love that.
Now,
I really love that.
I'll take you a little bit different level, deeper level with Judaism, with Judaic principles. When you start studying the mysticism of Judaism, called the Kabbalah, not the Kabbalah, but the Kabbalah, ancient Jewish mysticism, anybody who's really studying it will tell you that in the end of time, really there is no time, but in the end of days, what you can translate it to be the illusion that there is time and space. Once that ceases to exist, and this makes perfect sense if you're tracking with me here, and
Mhm.
this is Judaic principles, there will be no more religion. Let me say that again.
I love that.
Let me say that again.
Mhm.
Judaism, which is a religion,
Mhm.
in their own mysticism, says at the end of days, the great awakening, we all remember, re hyphen member, become whole again, remember ourselves. As Kristen would say, remember is to make yourself whole again, which is trust language in the law. You remember yourself. At the end of days, Judaism says Judaism won't exist. So you want to bring it back around again? What's a Jew? A Jew is no hyphen thing, no thing. What's Christianity? No thing. What's Hinduism? No thing, nothing. Because if everything, just as the Torah teaches in Judaism, is, was, and always will be, just like thermodynamics teaches, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, it only changes frequencies, then of course there'll be no religion because religion is only agreements by a select group of people who believe in the same thing. and therefore they create a separation and believe that they're one of the seven colors of the rainbow, when in actual fact, the colors of the rainbow is an illusion because it's all a refraction of the light, which is why Hebrew is light language. And you and I are
Oh,
light. And in Judaism, they say the Jews are what? A light unto the nations. What are nations? We've already talked about nations. Nations you can compare are similar to religions. A group of people from an indigenous place who believe the same thing and practice certain things. Go look up the word nation.
mhm.
What's the United Nations? All nations coming together to unite, just like a rainbow coming together to create a beautiful image of seven different colors. Is the rainbow one thing, or is it seven different colors? Is it seven different colors, or is it one light refracted?
So
You
I love
want to
this.
know, you want to know what a Jew is? A Jew is no different than you or me. Just like a Christian is no different.
Correct.
Just like
However,
a Christian is no different than you and me. And the Torah tells you right there in their own language that we are one.
correct. And you brought up the United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
These people who are not elected officials who are running the United Nations, they're putting together Agenda 21, which is going into people's, and I'm saying this because this is here on Big Island. We have a general plan that is literally a fascist plan that's going to take people's property. So
Potentially.
that was a potentially, if this goes forward, this keeps going through, because when you brought that up and you said, we're all one, there's people on the planet, and I don't even think they're people. I think there's something else. I don't know what demons or I don't know what they are, but they absolutely do not value human life.
Mm-hmm.
This is why Lahaina was attacked, LA was attacked, South Carolina under attack.
Mm-hmm.
These people, so, and again, I don't want to call them living men or women. I do think that they are some type of demonic force. What would you say to that? Because this is, I hear what you're saying and I love it. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, saying that all religions are just one color of the same oneness, which is one frequency, which I totally 100% agree with. And there's evil on this planet. Evil that doesn't value human life, doesn't value children, doesn't value people's private property or people's freedom. That's happening. So
I
what
do.
would
I
you
see
say to
that.
that? And under the guise of that, most of these demon people are Zionists, under and I think it's a falsehood of Jewish, because they do want to separate us. They want to say, "Oh, Michelle, you're anti-Semitic because you're speaking poorly about the Jews," when it's like, "No, I'm not. I'm speaking poorly of these satanic demons that do not value human life and have attacked our children on Maui, our people on Maui." So that's where I get really passionate, because we're under attack by these Zionist demons, and who are under the guise of this religion. And like I said earlier, I have Jewish friends who I love dearly and grew up with, friends. So so I'm gonna. What would you say to that, Jason? Um,
So, how many people, regardless of the religion, have you heard in your time on this planet have gone to war in the name of God?
yeah, a lot.
So, what we have to do is look from a different point of view, a different perception of what's happening. In order for a third dimensional reality, or as Ananda, one of our members of American Action, like to say, the nefarious or nefarians, she made that term up, the nefarians, those who practice nefarious things, quote unquote
That's different.
nefarious things, in order for them to survive, everything has to survive, right? If it's just put it on a basic survival level, even though you are never born, you don't, your true self, you are, you were, and you always will be. So it was never born. You can never die because you're a spirit. Because if we're one, we're light. But for your boots on the ground earth perception, it's relative. Death, destruction, and war is all relative. Okay? Because people will justify killing somebody in the great for the greater good, and yet the act that they're doing, one could argue, is exactly what they don't want to see happen. So it becomes a contradiction to say, well, we have to stop war with war. Okay. We have to stop the killing, so let's go kill the people that are doing the killing. Okay.
Mhm.
One becomes what they hate when they do resist that which they hate. And the Nefarians know how the psyche and relativity of the mind and the perception of the world works. So that's where they come in with psyops, another YouTube for another time. But let's back up for just a second. In order for anything to survive, it needs food, whether that food is oxygen or whether that food is plant based, meat based, water based, whatever. Trees need food, the ocean needs food, the sun needs food, everything needs food, keeping it very simple to survive. The Nefarians need food. What's their food? What if their food is war and they
Yeah,
need to
well, it
survive?
is because it gives them a whole lot of money because they fund
Well,
both sides.
regardless of that, let's just stay with one thing at a time. Doesn't matter if they're funding both sides or not. They're doing it to survive. So what they need to do to survive is to perpetuate the illusion of separation. And if you're susceptible to the bait, guess what you're feeding? Now, that's what we teach people in the law, that if you go into the courtroom and fight for your right, you're going to lose. Probably 90% of the time. Why? Because the goal is to go home, just like Dorothy did in The Wizard of Oz. Go home means going back to your heart, just like the Torah teaches, just like the New Testament teaches, just like Hinduism teaches, just like Buddhism teaches, to go back home to the love where we are one. But if there's a nefarious entity who needs to survive and their survival is to have everybody believe, be hyphen leave is another way of saying live, be live in an agreement in the illusion that we are separate, then they're going to live and they're going to perpetuate. You're this color, you're that color, you're that religion, you're this, you're, a man and you're a woman and you're not, and you're this, and it's all complicated. We have another emergency here. We have another emergency here. We have to
Mhm.
create drama because third dimensional plane is the plane of demonstration or demonstration or dramatization, but it's only third dimension. So there are different levels of existence, and in each level of existence, poetically speaking, every consciousness needs to live. And in the third dimensional consciousness, those that are quote unquote wanting to maintain in the denser reality as opposed to rising to a higher frequency where we are one and there is no war, they will feed that beast of the illusion of separation. So, what I would say to somebody is love, as Christo would teach, love, which is what we define love as, is allowance, is a choice that you have the freedom to choose. You can continue to fight, and say how wrong war is, and therefore I'm going to fight the war. But guess what you just did? You fed the very thing you want not to exist. Or you say, hey, there's a war over there. I'm going to go over here and plant a garden and maintain my own frequency. Now people are going, blah, 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 you can't do that, blah, blah, this and that. Hey, I didn't say it was easy. I said it's a choice that takes work every single second of every single day of your life. And when you're devoted to it, God shows you the path. I've climbed, I climbed Mount Whitney, and I've done other things. And it's a journey, and I'll use this metaphorically, to the peak of the summit. And all you can focus on is the peak of the summit. Peace, the Jubilee, end of days when there's no more religion, which is another way of saying there's no more separation, no more war, where the lion lays down with the sheep. How come nobody complains that the lion eats the sheep in third dimension? How come nobody complains that a black widow spider kills an insect or can kill a person? How come nobody complains that when a mama bear has a cub that is diseased, she kills her own child for the sake of the rest of her cubs? Well, that's just natural. Oh, really? So why can't you make the argument that war is just natural? Hmm, maybe it's not. Maybe it is. All I know is that if somebody goes into the military, and God bless everybody who joins our military, thank you for your service, but there is a deprogramming that happens to bring out the killer in them.
That's true. That's
So
true.
if
I have
there's
a
a
friend who,
killer in
yeah,
you, if there's
and
a
then really bad stuff that happens to
if
these
there's a killer in you,
people.
then that would make you having the potentiality to go to war. But if they have to condition you to do it, well, maybe that's not your natural state of being. And maybe your natural state of being, and we can define natural state of being similar to natural law, natural state of being is Christ consciousness.
Which is unconditional love.
Right. And if people are awakening on the planet, maybe from a different point of view, again, I was talking about perception, maybe everything that we're seeing coming out in the open right now, the disclosures and the nefarious, what if, like, if any of your listeners or yourself included are witnessing planet Earth in her own consciousness, purifying herself like on a detoxification to get the dis-ease out of her existence so that she can be pure again, and we have that new end of days or the jubilee where we all exit out of her and live in a new state of consciousness where we are living as one, just like the Torah teaches, the new Bible, the New Testament teaches, Hindu Bible teaches, the Bhagavad Gita, and so on. So what if from a different point of view, rather than looking at everything being so horrific, we're going, if you've ever done a detox, your body will detoxify and stuff comes out of it. The skin changes, all sorts of stuff. It's not necessarily pretty, but you know that it's a detox, meaning you're getting toxins out. What if everything that we're seeing on the planet right now is a mass detoxification? And at the end of the detoxification, we're back to beautiful peace and love, which is what your heart wants, which is what my heart wants, which is what the vision wants. But all we have to do is we have to go through the steps as we're journeying our journey. And sometimes it's not pretty. But if you can look at it from a higher point of view, now all of a sudden you can see it from a different perception, a different set of eyes, beyond a third dimensional, limited point of view, and into a higher point of view where we're going, oh, I can have some compassion here. Oh, I can have some forgiveness here. I may not like it. I'm not saying that you can't like it or that you have to agree with it or anything, but I've been on many detoxes and fasts, and I gotta tell you, sometimes it sucks. But at the end of
Mhm.
the day,
Hard.
if I'm benefiting from it, or like going to the gym and your muscles hurt or whatever,
Mhm.
you're putting your time in, and then at the end of the day, the byproduct of that is a beautiful new existence, a new body, a new consciousness. So what if that's what we're actually seeing on the planet? It's just a different point of view, a different perception, which gives us what? a greater ability to allow, which is what we've called love, unconditional love. Now, that doesn't mean if somebody comes over to you and wants to cause you harm, right?
No,
You need,
that's a different story. But so this makes sense about with Americans in Action, because you guys are actually moving people instead of into the system, which is enslaving people. You're teaching them how to live uh basically in their heart and not fall for the trickery that puts them into enslavement and all these fines and jail time and everything like that. So that's
right.
one thing I really appreciate about Americans in Action, because there's remedy, but most people don't see it. And when you get a piece of paper, that's what's coming up for me is that, but also, um, my one question to you around this, because I see that how this is tying in with the work that you're doing, and I think that that's perfect. And I was talking with actually G. Edward Griffin yesterday from Red Pill University, and we were talking about what is a remedy for what's going on right now. And one of his remedies was talking about how people need to be part of getting elected for these positions. But then doesn't that put us back into the system that is infiltrated and literally kind of it's a total scam. Like the
It,
government, everything is a scam.
it, it, it depends. First of all, it depends on a couple of things. Spiritually speaking, everything comes from source energy. So yes, there's always a remedy. It's even in their own codes.
Mhm.
You can also, when you, the reason what we like to teach is we bring it everything from a foundational place of spirituality, of consciousness. And the whole Babylonian Empire, the legal system, is a mirror image of the lawful system of God's highest law, of which is basically the golden rule: do no harm unto others or their property. In other words, treat others as you want to treat yourself. Why is that so profound? Well, we've just been talking about it. It's so simple because if we are one, then of course you're going to treat others how you'd want to treat yourself. And if you don't, and you do harm unto them, well, there's this thing, an insurance policy, for lack of a better term, built into the system of infinite intelligence called karma. In other words, whatever you put out is going to come back to you tenfold, 20-fold, a millionfold. That's why you were seeing certain people in Congress crying when there was being disclosed because maybe their gig is up and they're SOL. Karma. My mom's grandma used to tell her, well, they'll get theirs. So, what is that? So, to answer your question, what about electors? Two things. In the Republic, not the corporate America, in the Republic, the de jure Republic, true America, we had electors, elect officials to be our representatives, and we, the people, were in charge. In a democracy, it's a corporation, and the corporation runs as a democracy, which they can do, but they're trying to, under the guise of constitutionally compliant laws, which means they can't have their cake and eat it too. But if somebody knows that they're trying to operate as a constitutional compliant organization or government, then they have to stand upon the Constitution, which in of itself has remedy,
Mhm.
right? Therefore, if there's somebody with a pure intention who can navigate through the system, like Trump is, as far as I know, is not getting paid by the corporation. So he's not owned by them. So you can navigate through the system, use the system, use some of the innate remedies within that system to make a positive change, just like what we're seeing with some of these And we'll know them by their fruits. But what we're seeing of them doing audits, what we're seeing with them exposing certain things, what they're seeing with three-letter agencies going to be collapsing, that's all stuff that's built in the system for and if it is true and it keeps going through, then there's a transformation and transition happening, which has been announced even by those people in the system that, hey, we're going from corruption to a more pure republic. So if there are people who are wanting to enter the system so they can use it for the good and find the remedy, then cool. Every single one of us uses the system to some degree, whether it's fiat currency, whatever. So if somebody gave somebody X amount of fiat currency, but the collective agreement agrees that that X fiat currency, that X amount of fiat currency still holds value, and they could do a lot of good with that value, even though it's just paper money,
Mm-hmm.
what's wrong with that?
Mm-hmm.
You're using the system for the benefit of the whole. Just because there's corruption within a system doesn't necessarily mean the system is innately corrupt. Just because there's corruptions within religions
Yeah.
doesn't mean the religion itself is corrupt. Just because somebody's a corrupt Zionist posing as a pure Jew doesn't mean that the Jewish people are corrupt.
That's absolutely correct.
So
100%.
when I was
But
living
I
in
do think that Catholicism is a little on the same. I mean, I'm sorry.
and you are free to think what you want and have your experiences. So when I was living in Israel, studying to be, and there are different types of sects of Judaism, I was studying to be what's called a Dati Ma'od. Dati Ma'od means very religious, Orthodox rabbi in a yeshiva in Jerusalem, in the Jewish quarter. I was growing a big beard, the whole thing, and I was studying the law of Judaism, and I was all in with it. And one day I was walking and I had many, 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 many experiences there, miracles, experiences, so many different things, which I won't get into all that today. But one story I'll share was I was walking through what's called the Rova. Rova is like the square of this place called the Jewish Quarter. If you go to Jerusalem, the old city in Jerusalem, it's four quarters, okay, which is very significant about a lot of things spiritually. There's the Christian quarter, the Arab quarter, the Armenian quarter, and the Jewish quarter. Okay. I was walking through the Jewish quarter along with a very spiritual rabbi, and we were just shooting the breeze. And he said to me, what I just shared with you and everybody watching is that do not confuse Judaism with the Jewish people, as well as do not necessarily confuse the Jewish people with Judaism. Just like you can say, you don't have to confuse the corporate United States of America with Americans or all Congress people who work in the corporation.
True.
When you start learning, knowledge becomes potential power. Potential, because if you know a lot of stuff and don't do anything with it, then it's just ethereal or theoretical or as good as this pen. But if I use the pen and create a document or an essay or whatever I do, and or a book or something, and I share that with people, now it's influencing. When you take your knowledge and you implement it, that knowledge converts to an experience of the implementation of said knowledge. And that experience, as Krista would say, converts into what we call wisdom.
So why did you stop your journey to becoming a rabbi?
Some people call me a rabbi still because of what I'm
Here?
sharing.
Yeah, this was good stuff here, Jason.
Rabbi, rabbi is defined as teacher. So you could say I'm a rabbi.
Mm.
Just because I don't have a beard or a top hat or a big beard and a top hat doesn't necessarily mean I'm not a rabbi. But I never really said I was a rabbi. I was like, what does that mean? But maybe the question is, why did you decide not to become part of the Orthodox sect of Judaism and continue to grow your beard? When you go all in with something, Krista talks about going all in all the time. You, who you identify yourself to be, disappear and you become that which you're all in with. And how does that look? Anybody who's playing a sport or creating an art piece or cooking a meal or being a mom or a dad, and they're totally absorbed into whatever they're doing, being a parent or something like that. Everything else disappears, and all that's there is your experience with whatever it is you're doing. You get into what they call the zone. So I went all in with the rabbinical thing. And in so doing, I gained some wisdom, some insights, and saw things that I didn't necessarily agree with. Like any organization, when there are certain things being implemented within that organization, there is an agenda.
Mhm.
Doesn't necessarily have to be a negative agenda, doesn't have to necessarily have to be nefarious, it could be a
Well, let
positive
me ask
agenda.
you this around that because before we talking, I told you about a documentary that I saw, and it was talking about the goyim, which I'm supposed
Mhm.
to be a goyim, and that all these goyims, thousands of goyims, are supposed to be slaves for these Jews. And is that a regular thing that regular people who study Judaism believe? Because that's pretty horrific. Is thinking that they're going to have thousands of slaves, us goyim. Is was that one of the things that turned you off about Judaism? I mean, is that part of their religion that they really believe that?
Uh, in any religion, there are extremes. In Christianity, dogmatism Christianity, could you say that if one doesn't believe in Jesus, they're going to go to hell? Could you say that that would be a segregational thing?
Well, that's kind of not my question though, because
But hold
this
on.
was a big one for me. When I
I
saw that,
understand. I
I was like,
understand. And I'm
thousands
answering.
of regular
I'm answering.
people are going to be
I'm answering the
slaves.
question. I'm answering the
Okay.
question. I'm answering the question so that you can see something. In Christianity, are
That's
there
the main religion. That's their main belief is that Jesus died on the cross for to save their sins. That's
and
their
if you don't believe in in Jesus Christ in that regard,
then you're not a Christian. That doesn't make you a Christian then. That makes you
and that means you're not saved or welcomed in the kingdom of heaven
under their belief.
under their belief.
Mhm.
So how is that any different than somebody believing that someone who's a goyim, a non-Jew, is their slave?
But I'm just asking, is that part of their religious belief? Is that part of the Judaism religious belief? Because when I was watching this documentary, which scared the bejeebies out of me, and you guys can find it on Rumble, and it says you are Amalek, Amelk. It's quite disturbing. But when I was
I will say
saw
that
that,
you also what you should do on that. I will answer your question, but what you should also do is watch other videos about Judaism, just like just because you watch one video, that doesn't give you the entire encompassing. Just because there are Christians who believe that if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to hell.
But they don't believe that other people are going to be their slave. That is
Hold
like,
on.
oh,
Let me finish.
man.
Let me finish the thought.
Okay, okay, that's huge.
But it's also huge for somebody to go over to another and say, if you don't accept Jesus Christ in your heart, you're less than me, and I will kill you in the name of Jesus.
I say I don't think that that's what Christians do
Hold on.
on that,
Uh,
because I think that they just
Hold
think, oh,
on. Let
that
me
person's
finish.
going to
Let me
hell. Because,
finish. Let me
but
finish. Let me finish. There is a belief in Christianity of what I just stated.
but they're not going to kill you because you don't believe in Jesus. They just think you're going to go to hell. That's what they think.
There
Like,
are those who have killed in the name of Jesus,
correct.
in massacres, slaughtered people because they didn't accept Jesus Christ as their savior. Now, that's a belief within the construct of Christianity, that religion. I have many friends who are Christian, just like you have many friends that are Jews.
And both Christian Jews.
And
My most of my family's Christian.
I would say to the Christian, don't mistake Christianity for Christian people, just because there's a belief within that religion that says that. Just like I would
But
say,
it doesn't say in the Bible, go kill somebody if they don't believe Jesus died for their sins. It doesn't say that. It says that in another book in Muslim. I don't know if it's Muslim or it's Allah. I think it's Allah. Yeah, that you have to kill somebody if you don't believe in Allah. But they doesn't. That doesn't say it in the Bible to kill somebody if they don't believe Jesus died for their sins.
but it does say all over the Old Testament and the New Testament to go create war everywhere.
That's why I think that's why I'm decoding the Bible, because I actually think
So
the
let
Bible's
me
written
answer
by
your question. The same
humans.
way that all Christians don't believe that if you don't accept Jesus Christ in your heart, they should kill you. But that belief exists in Christianity.
Not in the Western world. In the Western world, people just think that they need to be saved, otherwise they're going to go to hell. They're not going to go kill them because they don't believe Jesus died for their sins, you know?
You don't know that, and I can tell you from experience that I've met people.
That would kill other people for not believing in Jesus, because that's just like their own digging their own hole, that they're going to go to hell if they don't believe that. And that's
Right.
not my belief either. I don't believe.
And that's not my belief
Yeah.
either. But there are people who will believe certain things.
So you're
Just
saying that there's
so I'm
certain.
saying that in Judaism, there is a belief that the Goyim should be the slaves of the Jews. But that's no different than the corporate United States telling you you need to be a slave to have your when you take your Social Security card. That's no different than if somebody is an employee of an employer. You are their slave. The exchange is you get a check and you can leave whenever you want. The Kohanim, it's a belief by certain Jews. Does that mean all Jews have that belief? Absolutely not.
That's correct. Yeah.
Does it exist within the religion? Yes. Are there extremists in Christianity? Yes.
Mhm.
Are there those who are not extremists? Yes.
Mhm.
Don't mistake the Christian people for Christianity. Don't
Mhm.
mistake. Mistake is a mistaking because what you're doing, and I hear where you're coming from, is exactly the thing that you don't want to see.
Mhm.
You are what's called passing judgment and getting heated about it, making a conclusion that Judaism believes that because you're not a Jew, you're a slave.
Well, I was asking if that's in the religion.
Excuse me,
I was asking if that's in this religion.
excuse me, excuse me. Are you a sovereign woman?
Yes.
So can I make you be a slave?
No.
So does it matter if somebody believes that you're a slave to them?
No. But my question was, is that in the religion? I just wanted it to be
Of course,
accurate.
it's in the religion.
And that's,
But
yes,
what does that mean? The 14th Amendment made everybody slaves.
correct.
Does that mean you're a slave?
No.
Okay, so why is it relevant?
Because I'm mixing
Does it
this.
exist that in Christianity that you could have somebody who's not that a Christian could have somebody that's married to somebody who's not Christian and their spouse is going to go to hell?
Yes, that's
Is that true?
no.
How do you know?
Because because of my belief is everything is frequency.
So it's your belief. Just because there is a belief that one somebody holds that a non-Jew is their slave, is it true?
No,
How do you know?
because I know it's not, because we're all a frequency. And you just said so yourself, that
I'm
we're all
all
one.
I'm saying
That we're
is,
all one.
so
So
my point is, it's an irrelevancy what somebody believes if it's not true. There is true. You can go look up the
there's
word.
truth and there's beliefs, but there's also the system that we're living in right now. And
Right.
when I look at this system, so
That's
let me finish.
fine.
Let me
That's
finish my
fine.
statement. Let me
That's
finish what I
fine.
have to tell you, Jason. Let
That's
me
fine. But the system,
But let me finish what I have to tell you first, and
okay,
then
that's fine.
I'd love to get your comment on this, because there is a thing here that's happening in the United States and around the world with Judaism and Jews. Otherwise, we would not have this anti-Semitic thing where you can't criticize Jews. It's like whoever you cannot criticize, that is the people that are in control, regardless of if they're real Jews or fake Jews or whatever. And the fact that we do have Congress that 80% is has dual citizenship with Israel, that there's things in the fact that we're giving so much money, and also Trump wants to create Gaza, which is not going to happen, but part of the United States. I mean, that he was like, let's make Gaza Strip part of the United States. That's a whole nother thing as well. There's something going on with this religion and these Zionists that run the country, that run the world, and it is has to do with something with their religion. And I don't really, so this is why I do all the research that I do and try to understand all the
Does
things.
it have something to do with the religion, or does it have, are they using the religion as a facade, as a guise to justify certain thing?
Correct,
So
yeah.
you're making very blatant statements without substantiating certain things. You're saying there's something going on with the Jews. Do you know
No, I
there's
didn't
something,
say that. I said there's something
then
going
tell
on
me.
with this system.
Well, sure, but what's the
There's nothing going.
system?
I don't believe it. It's not the Jewish people, because I mean, I could be a Jew. It's not Jewish. It's not the race. It's not the race of people that are regular people just trying to survive like you and me. That's not the situation here. What I'm saying is that the systems in place that were put in place by the elite bankers, a lot of them call themselves Jews, which I don't think that they are. I think that that's a whole nother, I think it's some type of satanic religion that's going
So
on here.
that's all could be very well true. My question to you is, are you mad at the system, or do you want to find a way to navigate through the system so as to find a remedy where people can live at peace?
I want these attacks to stop.
Attacks, I'm not clear what attacks you're
The
speaking of.
attacks on Lahaina, the attack on LA, the attack on South Carolina, 200 almost 200 fires going off in the dead of winter in South Carolina. That's impossible.
Well,
And
that's fine. So there is, like I said,
that's
I
what I
agree
want.
with
I
you.
want these attacks to stop. And
Okay, so
I don't know how they can
okay,
stop.
well that's fine, but that's a whole different scenario than talking about Zionism. It could all necessarily be
They're
connected.
the people doing it. That's
Wait
my
a minute.
point.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Again, you just made a statement that these are the people that are doing it. Please show me your substantiation to prove that that statement is true.
From the research I've done of who owns this country,
Okay.
from really the very beginning, of the country, but mainly during the Civil War, they're the ones that are in charge, and they call themselves Jewish people, even though like I said earlier, I don't think they are. They are Zionists. They're the ones that put the Jews in Palestine, which is they call Israel, and Palestine was its own country with people there that lived there and
That's
had their lives and homes there, and they literally were
that's
booted out. That's
that's
not
true.
Pono, which is right, which is
That's true.
making to make something right. So they're
That's true.
that is those people that they're the ones that are running everything, and they're funding both sides of the war. And you're right about the war feeds them. It does feed them, absolutely feeds them.
That's true.
So yes.
That's true, and I would agree with you that we all want the attacks to stop. However, in order for that to happen, rather than going around and saying, "These guys are doing this, these guys are doing that, they've been doing this," all that I'm not saying that's not true, and I'm not saying that you're not justified to have those things. What I am saying is rather than focus your energies on wanting to go to war with the warmongers, I've planted trees in Israel. Okay. I've been to communities in Israel where those that you would think are enemies live next door to each other. I've had communications with people who people would classify as enemies, and we would sit and we'd break bread together.
See, that's beautiful. And that's why I say it's not the people. It's
It's
not the
not the people.
people.
So you're here on a public podcast making a lot of blanket statements, perpetuating, hold on, perpetuating certain things, as opposed to going, there are certain people who are doing certain things that are nefarious, that are causing harm to others. I
Mhm.
see that and I get that. Whether they're posing as a Jew, whether they're a Jew or not a Jew, whether they're a Zionist or not a Zionist, let's focus on here are the perpetrators. Here's people who want peace. Let me put my energy with those who want peace. And if we build peace and that builds a critical mass, the law energetically overrides the lesser frequencies. That's a law. In other words, as one of our great masters have said, the destruction will destroy itself. But if you're going and you're all a lot of different places, and I'm not saying that what you're saying is incorrect or wrong or anything, or you're not justified, that we're on the same page here in these things. What I'm doing is pushing certain buttons here so that we, for everybody to watch, can say we have a choice. We can continue to fight, 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 and feed the very beast that we want to stop and give them exactly what they want and push your buttons. By them pushing your buttons, you're giving them what they want. Or you can say, hey, what the Constitution says, what universal law says, united we stand. What happens if people just stop participating in certain things? What happens if everybody said, I don't want to go to this particular big box store because the people that fund that box store are aligned to certain agendas that I don't agree with, and therefore I'm not going to give them the currency that they gave me back to them? What if we learn how to play the game differently than be a victim of the game? What if we stop using our life force energies to resist what is, and rather we choose to use our valuable, invaluable life force energy to create a new earth, find solutions with others? And what happens when miracles like that happen, which I've seen every day when we do this work? We've had people be successful within the system, outside the system. I think you've had experiences with that working with us. There is a choice that we make every single second of our lives. We don't have to participate in a war if we don't want to. What happens if all the soldiers around the world said, I'm not going to go to war?
But I hear what you're saying. And what if the war comes to you and
You
your
missed
house
what
is
you
destroyed?
missed what I just
No,
said.
I didn't, because I hear what you're saying and I completely agree with you. that
Okay.
we do need to be going in the direction of peace. Absolutely. That's why I do the prayers that I do, because I do believe that this frequency field feels our energy. And when we're holding love and forgiveness and peace, and we are cleaned up with our own relationships, that we actually are helping create more peace on the earth.
That's right.
And but then I shouldn't say but, because that negates what I just said, but there, I said it again. I should say, and there's people whose homes are gone. There's thousands of homeless right now in LA. They're putting Lahaina people in these small houses, not letting them rebuild. Now hundreds of homes are gone in South Carolina, with over 200 fires like in a day, which is impossible to happen. And so I'm like, what if when the war comes to you and your house is gone and you're homeless, then what's the answer with that? Because I was actually asking a friend of mine.
So when I was homeless, you didn't know that.
I did not know that.
So I spent some times in the New York subways. Spent many times a year in my car. So actually probably like 2 or 3 years in my car off and on. So when go back to the purification on the planet, it happens on a microcosmic level as well as a macro level. Everybody's souls have their own journey. Everybody's souls has their own journey. We are living on the time on the planet right now where you, each and every one of you watching, me, are our own hero. We are our own hero. Now, it doesn't mean we can't work together to help each other. It doesn't mean shit doesn't happen. What it means is if I am in a scenario where I'm living in my car and not knowing where I'm going to get my next meal, I better buckle up, Buttercup, and get my act together. Because ain't nobody going to come save my ass. I have to make that choice. And an FRN note, whether it was legit, fake, who the hell cares, was very valuable for me to get a meal when I lived in my car. When I didn't know where I was going to sleep and I was sleeping in the subway in New York at that time, when I found blanket, I was very grateful for that. What if people's souls are creating certain things so that they can realize their own sovereignty? What if people are creating their own realities so they can have some appreciation, some gratitude from the universe? What if God doesn't work in such mysterious ways? It's only our minds that think it's mysterious. But what if everything that's happening in our life right now is a gift? And like I was saying earlier, we just have to change our perception
Mhm.
and see the opportunity as opposed to the victim mentality of I'm being attacked. In the martial arts, which I've trained in and continue to do so, after every sparring, and you see it on the mainstream TV,
Mhm.
the warriors hug each other. Why?
Not all of them, but a lot of them do.
Not all of them, but I will tell you, the ones that lost, they get inside and they go, that guy kicked my ass. I respect him and I'm going to come back stronger.
Mhm.
I may not be in the position to hug him, but there's a respect. Made him stronger. Those who are respectful and mature, we'll give them a hug. Why? Because they helped you discover something about you. Every moment is an opportunity for you to grow and use what your given circumstances are. Why do I say you're given? Because you gave it to yourself. And you can look at it as, hey, this my life sucks. And I've been on the street more than once. I lived in my van for many years, a year. I lived in my car for a year. It took me a while to get some shit together, but through the grace of God, through my own journeys and stuff like that, I had to rise. And you find a way. What if the system that you speak of is not perfect? But what if within that very same system, there is a miracle? There is a way. And what if you can find people who are passionate and loving like yourself and who are homeless? And what if you can come to them and say, hey, let's unite together and find a way within the system where we can navigate through to make a difference? Tony Robbins is a great example of that, by the way.
Mhm.
He was homeless and starving, and now he feeds what, a billion people because of his experience.
Mhm.
So what if all these souls created their housing being lost? I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm saying it's an experience. But I will tell you that some of those people will come out stronger,
Mhm.
become great people, greater than they already are, and help others. And others will fall away and just sit there and go, the system's fucked. And nothing will change for their lives. What's the difference? They both lost their house. Why is it one of them is going to come out and come back, have a bigger house, help others, and thrive, and somebody else is just going to go to the shits? It's a consciousness, it's a choice.
Mhm.
And as I'm telling you, it's not necessarily easy,
No, this world is not easy.
right?
This
But
is
at
for
this, but
warriors.
at the,
This is for light beings.
but at the same time, every soul has their journey,
Yeah.
and you have your beautiful podcast here, everything you're doing to make a difference. But we have to be able to rise within ourselves, number one, and then we can help others. And are we all going to be able to save the world? Maybe, maybe not. Is that our journey? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe when I worked at years ago, I worked at the Simon Wiesenthal Museum in Los Angeles, which is a Holocaust survivor museum. And I met a lot of Holocaust survivors. I have extended family who were Holocaust survivors. So if somebody wants to tell me that it doesn't exist, that it's a fraud, we'll have a conversation. The same thing, though. There are amazing stories that they shared with me of how they were able to get through. But one of the things I wrote an essay when I was working there, and they published it in their museum and ran it, whatever. And the essence of the essay was this: even though it looks horrific, one man or woman can change another man or woman's life or child's life simply by giving them a smile. Smile. Because what if that person was in the shits of the shits and nobody paid attention to them? And all of a sudden, somebody says, "Hey, how you doing?" and gives them a smile. And that one moment could have changed that person's life. You don't know. You don't know. I don't know what's going on in anybody's lives.
Yes, correct.
But I will tell you this: each and every one of us, I don't care who you are on this podcast, have been to a grocery store. And I'm just going to pull a number out of my butt here, but I would venture 90% of the people that have gone to the grocery store do not read the name tag on that cashier and mention their name.
Mhm.
What have I learned to do? Because I was in many different industries and businesses, customer service, food service, all sorts of different things. The most powerful sound anybody can hear is their own name. What if the next time you go into the grocery store to buy your eggs, say thank you for the eggs, even though they destroyed them allegedly, but now you have a dozen, thank you. And as you're paying for those eggs with the fiat currency, thank you. To feed your body, thank you. That was given to you from the grace of God, thank you. You look at that cashier and you say, hey, Mary, how's your day? What if Mary says, wow, thank you for asking? I've been here for 14 hours today, and you're the first person that actually granted, as Krista would say, me beingness and read my name. And now we have a connection. You know what? Why don't you I'll take there's a coupon here that I have in my drawer that's 50% off on this particular item that you're buying. I'm going to give that to you because you said hello to me. I can tell you that from experience, my friends. Do we have to change the world? Sure. Does it have to be on a monumental world level where we're taking out the deep state? Maybe that's not my job. But can I say hi to Mary at the grocery store? Yeah. Can that energy ripple out to all of God?
Mhm.
Yeah. Can we be a light onto the nations as what the Jewish principle is? Yeah. Do you have to have had a Jewish mother or gone through a bar or bat mitzvah
No.
to have a light onto the nations? I don't think so. Because each and every one of us, next time we buy our eggs, can say thank you to Mary. Have yourself a beautiful day and mean it. And watch
Mhm.
what it does for you. And next time you go into that grocery store, hey, Mary, how are you? Did you just make a friend? So, yeah, there are ups and downs in life.
Mhm.
There's no guarantees. And shit is tough sometimes. But guess what? Everything can be an opportunity if you choose to do it. And it's a choice. Crystal always says, love is a choice. And you always have sovereignty over your choice.
It's true. Well, I love this. Thank you so much for your time today, Jason. I know that I am fiery around this topic. But I always appreciate learning things that help ground me again. You know, we're all doing the work we need to, that we were called here to do, that we chose to do when we came here, because I feel that we chose to come to Earth at this time and be born to the parents we were born to and the location on Earth. And it's not a mistake through doing, through just life and getting to know different people that show up in your life. So I appreciate you showing up in my life. And I always do a prayer at the end, but I'm curious if you would be open to praying today.
Absolutely. And I want to say this to you. I appreciate you being in my life. And I want to say this to you specifically, and everybody, but you specifically. Your fire, your passion, your beautiful heart to bring love to this planet is so unsurmountable that if you can channel it in a way where you can have these experiences that you're having, but channel it in a way where you can create and find the answers to bring that vision that you want. You'll go from affecting, this is just imagery, like this to like this. And your heart and your soul will be illuminating
Mm.
beautifully.
Thank you for that.
Change your fight to how can I bring and give the love, use that energy for the love, for the passion. Doesn't mean to deny that anger or the fight. As a matter of fact, it's to welcome it, but now channel it in a different way so that you can create even a greater impact if you so choose.
Mahalo for that. Yes. Yeah, you're not the first person that is, but I love the way that you said it. Nobody said it quite like that, so I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. Maybe the universe is speaking to you.
Mhm. Much mahalo for that.
By
Yes.
the way, before we go on to the prayer,
Mhm.
anybody who wants to join us
Mhm.
on Americans in Action, check us out again at americansinaction.info. You can meet the founder, who's brilliant beyond words of consciousness, spirituality, and law, Christo Hart Ananda, who
Yeah.
is also Americans in Action. I'm JC, and we have a couple other members as well, Cohen and Satya and others. But we're having, and I think you're going to put this up on March 8th, which is Saturday. We're having a free Q&A online. So if it's up today, it'll be 10 o'clock Hawaii time. And reach out to us at americansaction.info and we'll send you the link. And then also, this is something very special for Hawaiians. We're doing a workshop this month about the law, but it's all founded on spirituality, how to navigate through the system and realign with your sovereignty. Um, you We're doing that on March 22nd and 23rd for Hawaiians only.
Yeah.
Hawaiians only. It's a special thing. Others, we're having another workshop on the 28th and 29th of March, but we were reached out by some Hawaiians, and the topics we're going to be talking about are going to be catered to Hawaii and also globally, but specifically for Hawaiians. So go to our website to look at that
So you
and
mean those who live on Hawaii, live on the islands?
on the islands of Hawaii. Yeah. Going to be like a Hawaii luau of the law, I guess. And then we have, go to our website, you can check out the books, the dictionary that can save your life, spirit awareness book. We got a thumb drive, and then affidavit booklet in a book called Project Stay Open that yours truly drafted up a few years ago. Has a lot of information in there. And then the dictionary that can save your life, and Nanda drafted up, and spirit awareness book, Crystal drafted up, and thumb drive is a class. So there's a lot of stuff there.
It's
But
a big
most
long class.
importantly,
I'm still going through it.
yeah, most importantly, if you take anything from this YouTube, which I've enjoyed, I hope you enjoyed it listening and watching. It was pretty cool. Um, is that remember who you are. Remember who you are. You are a divine spark that lights a flame that is eternal. And you have the potential, each and every one of you has the potential to be greater than you could possibly imagine
Mm.
and make a huge impact with even those your loved ones, your friends, your family, let alone the planet. And it's up to us to come together and unite to enter into that new consciousness, that new world, that new earth called the Jubilee or Kingdom of Heaven. So
Absolutely.
be
Very true to that. So whenever you're ready, you can take us through
prayer.
a prayer.
Okay. So, Heavenly Father, Blessed Mother, Great Spirit that lives within each and every one of us, thank you for Michelle and all her beautiful souls who came to tune into this podcast at any time, day, or space or dimension. I am so grateful to have shared this beautiful time with her and everybody present as an honor of bringing in what I like to share from my heart. And I pray that my heart has touched the one heart of all of us, and that whatever I've shared today has impacted positively everybody who's listened, and may that positivity ripple out to all of existence, and that someday soon we all remember the truth of the love that we are innate within each and every one of us, and that as we remember, we connect consciously, and the world and the universes beyond all universes live in that consciousness of the truth that yes, we are one. As they say in Hebrew, Hashem Echad, God is one, Spirit is one. And with that, may love always and always does prevail. Thank you so much. I love you. So be it.
So be it, and so it is. Awesome. Much mahalo, Jason, for coming on. And again, americansinaction.info, you guys. And if you are with standtogetherhawaii.com, those of you who are on the island, I will be sending out an email with the information of how to get on the podcast for those who live on the islands. So much aloha, everyone, and mahalo again, Jason.
Mahalo. Thank you so much.